Boy, oh boy, let's do this. First thing first, the name LUI. Secondly, the game is a game of bodybuilding. Finally, we're back to bodybuilding. Thirdly, a major proper beep upon the 1994. LUI was absolutely 18 years old. It was a long time ago. Mr. Olympia 94 was somehow forgotten, right? I think it is eventful. It does not receive the proper level of salutes that it deserves. It was a pivotal, rather critical crossing road in bodybuilding history. Allow the LUI to bestow a proper light upon this Mr. Olympia. Top 6 right there. You guys absolutely recognize Sean Ray, rocking that classical vacuum of his. Mr. Olympia, he had 2 titles under his belt already, 92 and 93. Coming back to defend his title, the Brit, the shadow of them all, Dorian Yates. Kevin Levrone, he was coming from some kind of an injury in a sense, something that happened in 93, a little back surgery actually, doesn't show, never showed actually. We have the real deal Chris Cormier, as we call him in English. In French, Cormier. Cormier is a French name. Deal with it. Porter Cottrell. Porter Cottrell, I think he was a fireman. Nonetheless, he was, for the longest time, the training partner of none other than Kevin the Cat Levrone. They used to train together. They have some poses that look exactly the same in them. To be noted in this year, if I do remember, Chris Cormier was the training partner of Sean Ray, right? And Sean Ray, as usual, right, he was basically, did not like the fact, supposedly, that Chris Cormier was somehow late to the training session. Instead of telling him to his face, he went to the magazine and pretty much he said it on magazine. We have the Canadian powerhouse, Jurassic Paul Dillette, one of the biggest of them all. You can notice that Flex Wheeler is not here. Flex Wheeler was supposed to be the biggest threat to Dorian Yates, because in 93 he placed second. He was coming very strong. Unfortunately, he was partying with Dr. Dre and his crew, and he wrecked the Benz, and he did a serious accident which injured actually his neck. And the doctors had basically to adjust the MRI machine back then, because his back was so thick they were not able to see his bones, so it was an adjustment. Nonetheless, proceed, haha, shall we? So it's a very eventful Mr. Olympia. Why was it eventful? Flex was not there. Kevin was coming from surgery, but this guy injured his left biceps. I mean, a baby, please, right? I think it happened 2 or 3 weeks prior to Mr. Olympia. Not even in the biceps exercises, if I do recall, it happened during some rowing for his marvelous back, right? And as far as I recall, did not even train after that. I mean, the upper body at least, look at that, right? And he came like that without even a surgery. And he had a lot of anti-inflammation medication, and he was coming to defend that title. Not only the biceps was not loyal, the stomach was a little bit more prominent than the previous year. To be noted, as you guys remember, this guy shocked the world in 1993 by coming very big, quite bigger than his Mr. Olympia of 92. And he has beaten everybody. He has beaten a marvelous shape of Flex Wheeler. Flex Wheeler was, coming with 2 wins in the Ironman and also in the Arnold Classic. It was an absolute proper realization by this Brit. But then again, he came to this, defend his title. Sorry for the smallness of this picture, but you can still see that his back was still loyal. The Christmas tree was the best of ever at that time. And quite frankly, I think it is still the best. Ronnie Coleman included. I prefer that of Dorian Yates personally. He's number 1 when it comes to the back department. So it was still loyal, even though he had that injury. You could also notice, even though the picture is small, actually the tricep was still good, because in his later years, like 96 and 97, everything melted. I didn't like his arms. They would become too small in a sense. But then again, proceed, haha, shall we? This was his take home pose, the back double biceps, just thickness, just muscle maturity, hardness. I do recall people, actually, the fans back then, there was no internet whatsoever, but in magazines, when they describe him, they say, bro, when you are at Mr. Olympia stage and you see this guy, he's just, his hardness is on another level. And indeed, this guy, when he was walking on stage, his feet was hurting because the very fatty cushions underneath the feet was no longer loyal. It was oil. It was gone. He was dieting Tunis cream, this Brit, while retaining the biggest mass development of them all. Look at that. Triceps was still loyal. Look at the outer head, actually. It was just meaty. If you follow his career, in 97, it became shorter, it's kind of melted, it went upward, and it was just no longer loyal. Then, 93, 94 was still okay. When he was asked what was his best shape, he always goes to 1993, where he won Mr. Olympia. Of course, he was the biggest. Quite frankly, if I had to choose his best year personally, I'll still go to 96. I think it was the sweet spot for him. His back was still growing. It get better, right? And in 97, he barely won. Debatably won. Nasser could have taken it. May he rest in peace. We're going to see Nasser in this Mr. Olympia. He was still there. But then again, proceed. Shall we? Now, the closest guy back then next to him was Sean Ray, right? Sean Ray, quite frankly, and he was quite irate after the result. Front lat spread. We said it countless times and again. The word that describes this is a French deviation of his name, namely Dorianesque, right? It just looks good for several reasons. Now, granted, the back is just amazing. In my book, the best back ever. The lats, by the same token, are just marvelous, but his arms are not the biggest. So when he spreads them, it looks even more impressive. By contrast to today's Mr. Olympia, namely Phil Heath, his arms are so humongous. Granted, his back in some poses is just amazing, all kinds of 3D effect, but there is only so much he can do, especially in the front lat spread. Phil Heath, especially when he's big, like this year, obviously his best year ever, and we're talking about 2016, his best year ever, but I still do not like his front lat spread. Understandably so. What can he do? When he spreads them, his arms are so big, they're so humongous, they're so 3D, you're still attracted to the roundness of the biceps, to the freakness of that triceps, and also the radiobrachialis, baby please, and it overshadows the lats. They're there, but they will never look as big as or as impressive as Dorianesque. You can name few guys who have those kind of basically muscular development. To be noted, Big Grammy on the other spectrum is pretty much the perfect storm if he does it well. Big Grammy, every pose is just proper. His arms are big, are well done, way bigger than that of Dorian Yates, and his lats are also humongous, so he can do it. The guy is large, he is thick, and he is wide upstairs. Big Grammy is the perfect storm, but everybody agrees that Big Grammy did not gloom as of yet. We're not seeing the final version. Hopefully one day, why not? This year, 2017 or even 2018, we'll see his potential, right? It's not enough to reckon with Phil Heath. And believe me, the very metrics of Big Grammy, in a sense, they're better than Phil Heath, because every pose is okay. Phil Heath, when he gets big, like this year, as I mentioned, the front lat spread is not loyal, in my opinion, and also the front double bicep was a little bit crooked, and he knows that, right? Proceed, shall we? The same pose we mentioned, hands down, untouchable. This guy has no bicep, but when he spreads them, bro, just move on. Just move on. Sean Ray is okay. Genetically, he's not the best, but he was efficient. But even at that, a weak, basically an injured Dorian Yates was still dominating center stage and front lat spread. Kevin Levrone was a little bit softer, as we mentioned. He was coming from surgeries. I mean, baby, please, right? Look at that domination right there. This is establishing a properly clear domination right there. The back of Kevin was never a match, not even a threat to that of Dorian Yates. I think it was the best in 95, but not even close. I mean, look at the very muscular development. I mean, he just dwarfs the other guys. Again, Sean Ray, efficiency, he trains well. He's not a freak at the gym. He's, conservative. He never got injured as far as I know. Everything is there. But then again, when it comes to the freakness, he just got dwarfed by Dorian. It always happened. He was whining about it, but I'm sorry. The back was just a take-home pose. I mean, the contrast was so big. I mean, Dorian, you can notice that his standing back then was not the most loyal, but still, clearly dominating in this pose. No questions about it. Proceed. Haha, shall we? This was not good for Dorian Yates. Bubble, gut bonanza. As a matter of fact, I think it's the first year ever when his gut was not loyal, right? The first year ever, his stomach was absolutely distended. And as you guys know, usually the side triceps of Yates is very beautiful. It flows well. Not this time around. Not this year. It was not loyal. Proceed. Shall we? You see the very texture, the very muscle fiber, the kind of it of Dorian just looks harder. And it was harder due to several factors. I mean, you go ahead and watch the old vintage video of him training. It's called Blood and Guts. And Blood and Guts, he was lifting some biblical weights, pushing his physique to an extreme limit, thus developing this crazy grainy, granity muscular development. Sean Ray is very good. I still give it to Yates though. Proceed. Shall we? Yates, when it comes to the most muscular pose, it was pretty much the only one he was doing. Sometimes he was venturing to try the crab pose, but quite frankly, it was not the most loyal one. LUI never saluted the crab pose of Yates. This one is efficient. But then again, Kevin, even though he was not in the best shape, he was a little bit softer. You guys know. I mean, this is a 3D effect. Take-home pose for Kevin. I say give it to Kevin in this one. Although, obviously, it is not the most muscular pose. Probably was just, showdown, since Sean Ray is doing a front lat spread of his own right there. You can notice the injured biceps of Yates, right? It was kind of bluish in a sense. I liked actually this most muscular pose of Sean Ray as well. It's kind of crooked. I mean, the traps go up, but it's still good. I mean, he was saturating very well, right? This is Kevin Levrone, Sean Ray. Nice back. I mean, as I said, Sean Ray is all about efficiency. No weaknesses, so to speak, but he is not. You cannot say he is a small flex wheeler, right? You can salute the ex-Mr. Olympia 1993, that Lebanese, baby, please, Samir Benout. And the guy behind him is a small back then, may he rest in peace, Nasser El Sombati. We have the Brit right here, Charles Clermont. May he rest in peace as well. This Austrian guy, Andreas Munzer, Mr. Shreds. And a small, right? He was always finishing last, this guy. Definitely in the, the backpack, Mr. Ronnie Coleman. Back then, nobody was expecting this guy to be a future Mr. Olympia. Nobody. Like, nobody. As a matter of fact, when he saw the return of Flex Wheeler in 95, he saw him on stage. And in 95, Flex was not good. Ronnie saw him and he told him, bro, what happened to you? Flex answered him, told him, bro, don't tell me that even you will beat me tonight. And Ronnie answered, said, bro, don't worry, bro. I'm still your biggest fan. So in 95, Ronnie Coleman was still a fan of Flex Wheeler, because Flex was very good in 93. We were expecting him to come back strong in 95. He was very soft. 96, he came in bigger, but it was still not that good. As a matter of fact, in 96, he was beaten by Ronnie Coleman in the Canadian Grand Prix. Proceed. Shall we? Oh, this guy here. I think this guy, his name was Sherman. Sherman, yeah, Sherman, this guy. Proceed, haha, shall we look at the very domination being established by that Brit right there. I mean, take home pose, lights out, lights out. Porter Cottrell, mild smile, and look at his training partner, Kevin Levrone. But this is why he was dominating. He was deserving the win. I'm sorry. Look, the lat spread of Sean Ray, you can't even compare. Look at the width. This is not V. This is U effect. It really sways. You see the rhomboid. You see the traps of development. They're so large. He is really a Boeing 747. He was just establishing a proper domination. Proceed, haha, shall we? Kind of a slipstream, actually, cop at that time. Actually, Ronnie Coleman, I don't recall the placing, but he was definitely at the bottom of the list. He probably was not even top 10 back then. Just for you to remember when he was just, small, because before he became a monster. That was in the Dorian Yates era. Right? Relaxed pose. Dorian. He looks good. He was good. Dorian was properly saluted. As I mentioned to you, Nasser El-Somebody was still small. In this year, 94 actually, I think he placed second in the Night of Champions, which is today's New York Pro. The guy who won back then, I think, was Mike Francois. Mike Francois placed first. Nasser El-Somebody placed second, if I'm not mistaken. I think Al Gurley placed number 3. Was it Mike Al Gurley? No, Al Gurley was number 4. I don't remember number 3, but number 5 was Mike Quinn. Was it Mike Quinn? I think, yeah, I think Mike Quinn. I had the magazine, so I do recall. I was in the US back then, by the way. Proceed, haha. So proper salute to the real deal. Always rocking that solid vacuum. To be noted, actually, even though he was not the biggest back then, this guy actually, Chris Cormier, was one of the strongest guys in the IFBB back then. He was lifting some crazy weight, right? Aaron Becker versus the late Andreas Munzer, right, Mr. Shreds. Highly underrated, both of them. Both of them are highly underrated. Aaron Becker has a proper distinctive back, and sometimes he was he was compared to Flex Wheeler, but unfortunately he was always dinged. I was paying his dues, and definitely dinged by IFBB oil spill, right? This guy, I think he was Austrian, or was he German, right? Roland Zerlock. Roland Zerlock. I think he was in German, but he has an origin from an Eastern European country. This guy is David Dearth, or Dearth. David Dearth, right? He was a Weider athlete. Was very good. I do recall him, man. He said, bro, me, if I'm on, I think I can beat Sean Ray. I can beat a lot of guys. I can beat Porter Cottrell, but when it comes to Dorian Yates, I cannot beat him, even if I'm with him, with a gun in an elevator. He's just too good. I will never beat Dorian Yates. Talking about Dorian Yates, actually, who has a crazy back, David Dearth unfortunately injured his back. He had a severe back injury, if I do recall, his back, which was detrimental for the rest of his career. Right? Side chest. Quite frankly, not the very best one of Dorian Yates, for the simple fact that his arms are not that big, especially not in this pose. They look kind of awkward, and the chest is not the thickest. Quite frankly, I'm gonna give it to the other two guys. I think they're just properly better, right? But then again, when we arrive to this position, back double by, Sean Ray is good, but I'm sorry, Dorian Yates did exist in that era. If he wasn't there, Sean Ray would have had several Mr. Olympia. Sorry, but the back domination of Yates is just too efficient, right? We've seen these already. The texture, Dorian just looks hard. Sean Ray is very, very good. I still give it to Yates though, right? There we go. Kevin was not in the best shape of his life. He was a little bit softer. This pose, I'll give it to Sean Ray. Why not? Sean Ray, very efficient, very classical. His arms look bigger, rounder. The chest comes at you, just thicker, more efficiency. But at the end of it all, the Yates won, deservedly so. I think he absolutely deserved it. So proper salute to this very pivotal Mr. Olympia. Quite forgotten, but it was quite special. Flex was not there. Dorian was injured, yet he was able to establish his supremacy deservedly so. Proper salute upon you all. Don't forget to like the video and tell the LUI what you think about this.